Hi friends, and welcome back to this week's Self-Love Masterclass. For those of you that are new to my channel, my name is Mullings-Lewis. I'm a self-love coach as well as a Reiki master. And every single week we come back to this channel to talk about all things self-love and spirituality. So if you're new, I just really want to welcome you to the channel. And I also want to invite you to do a couple of things. The first is to check out the other playlists that I have here, because chances are it'll give you a really good idea of the kinds of things that we talk about here. And then at that point, you can make a decision about whether you want to subscribe or not. But chances are, if you're watching this video, you're likely going to want to subscribe. The other thing that you want to do is probably have something that you can take notes on, whether it's your smartphone or a little pad and paper. I know I have clients that like to watch these videos and take notes. And the reason for that is because sometimes there's something that really sparks something for you. And you want to make sure you hold on to that nugget, because it will usually bloom other breakthroughs in other areas that you may be dealing with. Without further ado, let's get into the video and just welcome back to everyone who watches these videos week after week. In today's video, we're going to be talking about the 5 mistakes that we often make along our self-love journey. And what I really want to preface this with is that it really doesn't matter if you're just new to self-love and you're kind of like, what is self-love? I have no idea what that is. I just know that I feel like I need some of that in my life. Or if you've been working on this for a couple of years or more. We all have mistakes that we make along our journey. And I want to be clear that when I say mistake, that's really just a very kind of like widely used concept that I know a lot of people can sort of make sense of, but really and truly from a spiritual perspective, if you've been following me for a while, you know that I don't really believe in mistakes. It's more about understanding the lesson behind the things that have happened. So really what this video is about is understanding 5 common lessons that we often miss or forget when we are on our self-love journey. One of the lessons we often miss or forget along our self-love journey is that we're not to compare our journey to anyone else's journey. Oftentimes I'm working with clients that maybe are in their 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s. They have a tendency to compare where they're at in their life or in their journey of self-awareness and self-love to those that are in their teens, 20s, early 30s. And the thing we have to understand is that obviously, being in your 40s, 50s, 60s, even late 30s is very different than the way the world is now for someone who is in their teens, 20s, and early 30s. There's a very different conversation about what it means to be a woman, what it means to express ourselves as women. There is a lot more latitude, and also there's much more digital support and communication to free women and to free people to more so express and be themselves. So it's very important that you not compare your journey to anyone else's journey, certainly by age, but even just by spiritual lessons. The important thing for us to understand is that we are all on our own journey. We are all learning different lessons. We all have different paths. We all have different bodies. And so by virtue of even our genetic makeup, so race, age, ethnicity, all these different things, we're going to have very, very different experiences of how we were raised culturally, how the world sees, views, and expects us to really express ourselves. So we all just have so many variances that it just does not make any sense logically to compare ourselves to other people. But not only that, it can very much just be a self-sabotaging thing that we're doing, a way to continuously hold ourselves back from feeling our own sense of self-worth, feeling our greatness, and really just blooming and excelling in life. The thing you really want to watch for with the whole comparison thing is your behavior. So you may be scrolling on social media, looking at what other people are doing, and then having some kind of conversation or dialogue with yourself like, I'm not doing that, but I should be doing that. Or, wow, look at how far ahead this person is and look at where I'm at. Like constantly doing the where they are versus where I am, where they are, where I should be sort of conversation. Catch that when you start to do that, and remind yourself that you are on a very unique journey, that you have very specific things that you are meant to do in your own divine time here on the planet. In essence, you are never behind. You are always exactly where you are meant to be, and use that to catapult yourself into the future of your design. The second important lesson for us to remember and not lose sight of is that we just need to go at our own pace and not rush everything. This is something that is really key for those of you that are new to your self-love journey, because sometimes we find out about self-love, we start to understand what self-love can make possible, and then it's like we just go changing every single thing. It's like we ditch the boyfriend that's no longer good for us. We say we want to get out of these marriages that have been very hurtful and, have stunted our growth. We want to get out of our job. It's like all of a sudden we want to change everything in our diet. It's like we're just doing everything all at once and all so fast. And I totally get it. We've all watched the movie Eat, Pray, Love, and her journey and experience is one that has inspired many people to really look at their own lives and to start a self-love journey. And that is television, that is Hollywood, and I know it's based off of one woman's very true experience. But the reality is, for a lot of us, we don't have the privilege or the resources or the luxury to just be able to go cold turkey. Maybe that isn't necessarily the most empowering way to start your self-love journey. If it is, then awesome and great. But don't feel like that is how it should look or that is how it has to be. That's not how it's necessarily meant to be for everyone. Remember, you can go at your own pace. You can start by changing one thing. And also, just because you're on a self-love journey doesn't necessarily mean that you have to abandon or cut out all these things out of your life. Sometimes the actual self-love work, what is most relevant, is for you to repair and rebuild and create newly things that are already existing in your life. So be really careful that you don't fall into this pitfall where it's more about like trying to escape or run away or change things rather than actually having a genuine, soulful transformation. All right, this is a big one now. Okay, you definitely want to have your pen and paper or whatever you're using to capture notes on for this lesson here. One that a lot of us miss, and this is actually for the people who are in the game for a while. We tend to do this one. So we start to get a really inflated ego, and we start to almost think that we're like better than everyone else. Like there's almost like this elitist point of view where now it's like, well, I'm all about self-love and I am all about living this life and I don't want to be involved with this, or I don't want to have to interact with people who are like that. And it's almost like we start to confuse the self-love lesson around boundaries with just being a snob, okay? Quite literally, just being a snob and lacking compassion and really just having an inflated ego. It is really important that we are always doing the self-love work to introspect and to reflect and to be clear about our values and what we really want. And part of that involves really being clear about the loved ones, the people in our life that really matter to us and make a difference. Because if you are starting to get to a place where there's something wrong with everyone else, it's everyone else, not you, there's something to take a look at there. Okay, and I've seen it happen in myself in the past. I have seen it happen to clients. I'm often the person that can true my clients up to when they're being a little bit overboard and just lacking compassion and just having just way too much ego. And when it's like, okay, This is actually healthy for yourself, and this is actually something that is for the highest good of everyone involved in the situation. So really be looking out for that. Be mindful, introspect, check in, and make sure, okay, that you are treating people with love, honor, respect, and dignity, even if it is someone that you need to distance yourself from or someone that you're creating boundaries with. The fourth thing that we sometimes make a mistake with, or lesson that we miss that we need to definitely make sure to be aware of, is not being too hard on ourselves. In other words, a lot of us are just way too critical of ourselves. So, we get into the self-love journey and we have all this knowledge. We start to understand the spiritual concepts behind it. We start to really understand the meaning of it. And it is a way of life. The reality is, though, that we spent however many years on the planet, in our family systems, in society, living however we've been living. We have a subconscious mind. We have beliefs that we're working on reworking, reframing, or weeding out. And a lot of us put so much pressure on ourselves, like we're supposed to be perfect, or we're supposed to nail it every time, or we're never supposed to be unclear or not be in our higher selves, and we really beat ourselves up about it. Again, sometimes then we can go to number one, where we're comparing ourselves. It's just a really bad scene for us. It's not healthy for us. It's not helpful for us. And it's actually not how we learn to advance ourselves mentally, emotionally, or spiritually. Furthermore, it's literally not self-love at all, right? So let's be mindful to not be too hard on ourselves. It's important to remember to have that self-compassion and to understand that this is a journey. We are going to have to practice. Self-love is an everlasting, endless practice. When you make a mistake or when you do something that doesn't feel like it's in alignment with self-love, you honor yourself, you give yourself some love, you do the work to reconcile it within yourself, and you move forward. And that is self-love. All right, so the last one that I want to touch on in this video is we have a tendency to be either too much in our head or too much in our body. We sort of struggle to find that balance. So let me give you a really good example. A lot of times I will work with clients, and these are like my super spiritual clients, and they'll say things like, I am not my body, And I understand where that's coming from, because for a long time on my spiritual journey, not really just my self-love journey, that is how I related to my body. It was like I was, consciousness or spirit, and then there was this body. And in fact, as a result of having that conversation that I am not my body, I had more of a tendency to neglect my body. It was like my body was just this cargo that I was sort of dragging around or having to use. So I didn't have the reverence or really the appreciation for my body. And I wasn't looking at how to take care of my body in a self-loving way and in a spiritual way. Certainly not as much as I do now, and not as much as I know is valuable for me. And this is true, as I said, for a lot of my clients. Now, on the flip side of this, we can have people that are just too much in the body and not enough in consciousness, right? Emotional, in the emotional body, the mental body. And so they're doing all this work to, let's say, change their body, as if changing their body or changing their physique is the self-loving action. So you'll see a lot of people who think that self-love is weight loss. It just is not that. It is not that, right? Changing the physical body doesn't actually, on the most deepest levels, okay, affect what is happening mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. And this is why you will see people who will lose weight and they will still have the same issues. They will still treat themselves poorly. They will still be self-harming themselves. They will still put themselves in situations with people that are dangerous or harmful for them. They will still be massively unkind to other people, the planet, just completely unconscious. So a weight or a physical form is not in and of itself a representation of someone loving themselves or not loving themselves, right? So being in the body can be a beautiful thing. Obviously, I just talked about in this same point that we want to have reverence, integration, and appreciation for the body, but it is not meant to be in a materialistic, egotistical way. It's important that we're also looking at the mind and the spirit as a whole part, an integration with the body. All right, so just be really mindful of when you're just too much in your body and when you're just too much in your head, your spirit, you're up here, you're not on planet Earth anymore. All right, that is basically what I am trying to say here. Really and truly, friends, self-love is a journey, and if you've been watching my videos for quite some time, you know that I say this all the time. So if you're thinking that you're going to get to the finish line or there's going to be an end or some point where you just know everything and you have it all together and you are done with lessons, everything just goes exactly your way, you manifest literally anything without any complications or any issues whatsoever, I have to break it to you. That's not what life is about. That's not what the design of planet Earth is about for people who are alive on the planet right now. Planet Earth being here is about learning. It's about lessons. It's about journeying so that you can continue to elevate your sense of self. You can continue to build a relationship with yourself. You can continue to deepen your level of consciousness so that you can support other people in doing the same and help us to create a better world for not only ourselves, but our children and their children to come. Get used to being in practice. You will, of course, progress like anything that you practice at. You will see improvements and your life will change and transform in many ways. And there will always be things to work on. There will be always things to transform. There will always be people who need healing, and the planet will always need us to be in service of it. All right, my friends, so this is it for the video. I sincerely hope that you have enjoyed this video, that you have learned a lot from it, that you will take some of the wisdom, that you will integrate it into your life, and that you will share it with the people that you love and make a difference for them. Please also, if you know people that you think would enjoy this kind of content, invite them to the channel. Let's grow the family here. Let's grow in consciousness. And also, if you haven't already subscribed, don't forget to do that. Additionally, if you have been watching a lot of YouTubers, you know we are saying that the notifications or the algorithm is doing a weird thing. So even though I post a video, you may not know about it unless you actually turn on notifications for this channel. So if you're really committed and you don't want to miss any of these videos, please make sure to turn on your notifications. Beyond that, yes, I am accepting new clients because someone did ask me that on Instagram. I am always accepting new, well, not always, sometimes I am full, but right now I am accepting new clients. So if you want to work with me further on self-love, any area of self-love, all of my links are in the description box below. One-on-one work is my favorite work to do. It's my favorite. There's just a really sweet space that we create when it's just the two of us. So yes, definitely come and find me, book yourself in through my website, and let's get started. All right, my loves, I am off now to go and do a workout. I hope you have a fantastic day, and don't you forget, until we see each other next time, that we are in this together. Mwah.